If you are planning to list homes this year, this document is almost a necessity for you to have. The reason why is there are a lot of real estate agents or transaction coordinators that don't actually know all the elements of the contract, even if they have just been out of school, just gotten their license, or maybe they've been in the business for a while but haven't done a transaction like this in a little bit. Maybe they haven't submitted an offer in a while. Maybe they lost the relationship with their transaction coordinator, and so now they have to start doing the paperwork again and don't remember. Plus, this stuff changes frequently. So let me just kind of give you an idea of this document and walk through and explain how this can benefit you in your business. If you don't know, I'm Ian of Austin. I am an elite agent with Real Broker, and it's one of those things that I will say has truly helped making sure that I receive clean offers, because as a real estate professional, there are too many people that will submit something that it's not clean, it's not completed. Half the time it's because they don't know how or don't have someone to ask, and this is one of those tools that will help. I'm in near the Austin, Texas area, and so the Texas contract might be different than what you're used to seeing, but I want to explain this from that perspective. So first things first, it says how to submit an offer. If you have an MLS, or based on your MLS, you might be able to attach documents to that MLS transaction. So I have a listing on Equestrian Drive right now. In that listing, I have documents attached. And so one of them is this, how to submit an offer. And let's go through the language. So provide a mortgage pre-approval with the lender's information, which is great. That should make a lot of sense. A pre-approval or pre-qualification letter at a minimum. But what if they're paying cash? So for cash offers, please include proof of fund. Not a lot of people are used to dealing with cash off. And so they don't get a pre-approval. They're like, well, now what? You ask for proof of funds, whether that's a bank statement, whether that's some kind of money market fund or something that shows that they have the cash available to make the transaction go smooth. And then, you might be able to close a transaction. I just did one a couple weeks ago, closed in 7 days, start to finish. What? Because it was a cash transaction and I already had this information ready to go. Next, attach a signed real affiliated business arrangement. Most brokerages also own other corporations or have relationships with other people. So a great example, Real, if you're part of Real Broker, you also have access to owning shares in Real Title. So you can be an owner of Real Title. You can be an owner of Real Mortgage. Think about it like this. If you've ever heard of D.R. Horton as a builder, they not only have D.R. Horton the homes, they have D.R. Horton the lender, they have D.R. Horton the insurance, they have D.R. Horton the title company. I think it's DHI Title. And they're all separate businesses, but whenever you're signing a contract for D.R. Horton or Real or Keller Williams or RE.A.C.H or a lot of these companies, you have an affiliated business arrangement document that you have to sign along with it so that they're disclosing that they have these relationships. Doesn't mean you're using it. It means you're disclosing that you have it. And so with Real, even if you're not using Real Title, there's an ABA saying we have a relationship with this title. I have a relationship as a representation of the broker with this title company in the state of Texas. So that has to be signed or else your transaction won't be completed for your broker. So complete brokerage information. I outlined what page of what contract. Page 9 of the 1 to 4 family contract in the state of Texas asks you to fill out the broker information, except nobody knows how to fill it out. Don't know why. Well, I know why, because it's not clear in the MLS and it is public information, but you have to go search for it. Nobody takes the time to search for it. So I'm just like, here's this. And with the advent of teams or a solo agent versus someone who's an associated broker versus someone who has a supervisor versus somebody who's salaried, there are all these different variables in there. So if you just give them the information, which I highlighted down here, this will let them know what they need to write in that section of the contract. So you'll want to have this available for people that are submitting offers on your listing. Next is the earnest money deposit. In Texas, everything, in fact, I'm going to go back and say this, all terms are fully negotiable and offers will be promptly and professionally submitted. It does not matter if they submit an offer that's way under your CMA value or if it doesn't have the option or earnest money as you had mentioned as a suggestion for this. None of that matters. You have to submit an offer that is part of the due diligence that you committed to when representing your client. So I put that note in there. However, most clients would like, when they don't know or when they've done a lot of real estate transactions, they would like to have 1% of the sales price as the earnest money. So that gives you very clear earnest money deposit, 1% of the sales price. So if I'm selling a $500,000 home, then I would recommend to my sellers, hey, it's commonplace that I tend to see about $5,000 as an earnest money deposit. More or less, again, it's always negotiable, but I tend to see $5,000, which is 1% of the sales price. Same thing with the option fee in regards to, there is a kind of a unspoken historical number, and that ends up being about $35 a day. Or you could call it 10% of earnest money. And I could probably put that in parentheses. That might even be easier than saying the $35 a day minimum. So if you're asking for 1% of the sales price, which is $5,000, then the option fee should be $500. The problem with the option fee being a percentage is you also have to define a period. How long is this option fee taking this home off the market? Well, if you're taking the home off the market for 3 days and you're going to give me $500, that's a deal for me. Or if you're asking me to take the home off the market, my listing off the market so nobody else can buy it for 15 days, but you're only willing to pay me $500, that is not a good deal. That is not good for my sellers. That is not good for most people because they could have missed out on 10 other opportunities. Now, obviously, this is all relative to how the market is performing, what your location is, what you tend to see in your environment, in your area. But what I'm seeing is 5 days, and that's because it's the first day is actually day 0. So most of the time, people are getting 6 days. That's number one. Number two, what I don't want is for somebody to put in an offer, we accept it on Monday, and then for whatever reason, they back out of the offer, but I don't want them to back out over the weekend because if the weekend is already passed, I don't have a chance to get it back on the market and available for sale. So I want the option period to be as short as possible, or I want them to pay more. So in that option period, I would actually have them do the 5 or maybe even 4 days, because then they decide to back out, which is their right during this option period in the state of Texas, then I can still put it on the market, back on the market on Friday so that I can do an open house on Saturday or just get more exposure. Nobody thinks that it's pending longer than it needs. That's why I put the $35 daily minimum. And I mean, I've done $100 a day. I've done $500 a day. It just depends on the market. And option money is something that your buyers don't get back. So it's a little more of a commitment to your sellers that they're trying not to walk away. They want you to at least accept this offer. So I put this item here. We highly discourage repair amendments from being submitted on the last day of option period. There's a tactic from a lot of different realtors where they've gone through some kind of negotiation class or something, and they've learned this strategy where they wait until the final day of the option period where it's a high pressure situation, and then they'll ask you for a lot of money off of the repair of a home. So let's say I have this same house listed for $500,000. We've been under option period, and it's Friday, and the option period ends Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time. We'll say it that way. They send me a repair amendment at 4 o'clock p.m. Central, and they're like, oh, we need all 10 of these things fixed and a $10,000 reduction off the price of the home. Well, I mean, I'm already flustered because I have to now get this information to my sellers, hoping that I have the ability to talk to my sellers, and or I risk the buyer walking away from the property. It's such a headache style, high pressure situation, and it's just not fair to the seller. So I put in there, if you put us in this position and you're trying to be manipulative, thinking that it's a fight or flight response, I often have that conversation with my clients, my sellers, way before, so that if they get this, they know how you're going to treat them during this transaction. They'll say, nope, let them cancel, because they don't like when people do that. Really, again, it depends on your area. I hear it might be a different perspective, right? So just keep that in mind. I do not personally want people waiting till the last minute to submit a repair amendment when they had all of these days, which is why I also want them to get their inspection early on. It only makes sense, and that's the best way you can have your due diligence for your clients. All right, so next is more info to help you complete page 2, section 5A of the contract. Right now, as we're watching this video, that asks for who the escrow agent and the address is of the title company. Okay, so this is, in fact, I need to modify this. If you decide to use Real Title. Ooh, active live change right there. Okay, so you have to put the title company. You're not necessarily supposed to put a person's name as an escrow officer for a couple of reasons. What happens if that person no longer works for the company? However, it's clean and it's clear, and you know which company they're going to. So I'm going to put it anyway because I want them to know who they can write in. You have some agents where they can't get past who they write in at the title company. So here's the escrow officer, here's the title company, as the escrow agent goes together. So that way they know exactly who they're dealing with when they're trying to get this deposit the earnest and the option money or whatever the practice is in your state, and then who they can reach out to if they need the app or they need wire instruction. Next, you have the address, which is of the title company. Doesn't really matter. However, you got to keep in mind. So with Real Title, we prioritize virtual closing. So I have done so many virtual closings with Real Title. It's incredible. I love it. But if somebody needs to go into the office just so they can get their picture and maybe have the realtor sit next to them and play on their phone and snap photos for their content, like, you don't want to deal with all that, right? In most cases, if they're out of town, I've had people closing remotely while they're on a cruise. It's just crazy stuff like that. Real Title will handle a mobile transaction super efficiently, which also means they don't have an office where we go into to close. I mean, I'm not driving to Dallas. I'm in Austin. This is just an address in place so that they know where to mail checks if they're still using mail instead of wire or instead of an app. There's, again, a lot of old school thought in this industry, and people just haven't evolved yet to be able to handle mobile closings very well. And so that's one reason why I would recommend, if I have a mobile closing, I would recommend Real Title, because that's the best for my clients in most cases. They're also really transparent with their costs. If you go to, I think it's just onerealtitle.com or something to that effect, and they'll tell you, oh, this is what we charge for this. This is what we charge for this. This is what we charge for this. A lot of other title companies try to like pad and stuff fees, and you don't even know what the heck you're paying for until you're already at closing. So that's one reason why I do offer that. And it is an affiliated business arrangement, but because I'm an owner and I understand the value to the client, I put that in there. Next, this is the information I was talking about when it says complete broker information on page 9 of the contract. This is the broker information. So they need to understand that my listing broker firm is actually Real Broker LLC, not just Real Broker, not the Real Brokerage, not One Real. It is Real Broker LLC according to TREC, which is the Texas Real Estate Commission in the state of Texas. You have my license number, my associate's name. The reason why I put this AKA is in TREC, I also have that as a doing business as moniker. So I am Ian of Austin in TREC. My legal name is Ian William. A lot of people, a lot of my clients, a lot of other realtors that I send referrals to and do business with have no clue what my last name is, because that's not my brand. My brand is Ian of Austin because it has the name in it, and you can find me on social media at Ian of Austin all across the board. So that to me is important, that people know that that's who they're dealing with, but here is the name that you put on the contract, okay? Full name. And then actually, let me take a step back. I said license number. This is the brokerage license number. This is my license number. The phone number that I want, the email and the phone number that I want on the contract, which is different than what I might give clients. It's different than what I might give to other people that are not related to the transaction. This is my direct cell line as an example for this. And so licensed supervisor of listing associate today in Texas, Michael Urito is one of our brokers at Real Broker. That is the primary supervisor and state broker that's responsible for things that are happening in Texas. Here's his license number. Address. This one's a little challenging because, again, I live in Austin. So some people might see this and say, oh, this agent isn't even from the area. It's like, no. I'm at a virtual brokerage our cloud-based brokerage, but I do business locally, right? So this address is just so that you have a place if you need to put on a contract. Nobody goes there, right? The broker handles the information that happens there, but you're not mailing cards to me here or anything like that. No checks are getting mailed. Nobody's mailing anything. It's just an address so that you have an address, because that's required per Texas Real Estate Commission. We actually also have an address in Austin and I believe Houston and or San Antonio. So we have multiple addresses. So put whatever is recommended by your state broker. And then our phone number. So this is the broker line for Real Broker, right? It's not my Michael Urito's direct phone number, because that's not the process for our brokerage, because we have multiple brokers that kind of help triage these conversations. So it's the line for the broker. And again, you do what is required by your state, but this is important for you to understand why it's here and who the number goes to. And if you don't know, you should call it and figure it out for yourself. Like, you should do this for your own contract. You have so many people that are filling out these contracts. They don't understand what they're putting in there. They just been on a team and the team was like, here, just fill all this out. And they're like, oh, okay. No, they don't know what they're filling out. So you need to understand what this stuff means. And then lastly, it says, please submit offer using the links associated in the remarks section. I use a particular tool for listings that someone clicks on a link and they could submit the offer, upload the documents that, okay? The reason why I do that is because let's say I get 5 offers on a property. It comes in, it notifies the sellers, and it summarizes the offers for them. It is awesome. It summarizes everything, makes it look nice and neat. It says your net dollar will be this much on this offer, and this offer. Like, here's your net dollar amount that you'll be making. What? It's so clean. So I like that people will do that. And I'll make sure that myself or my TC will put this in the remarks section. So this is a clear instruction on how to submit an offer on a house if I'm the listing agent in the state of Texas. And then just because I'm big on branding, I put a couple more notes. Here's my information, a little bit about me, a little bit about Real Broker, and then a little bit about one of the companies that I own, suretyrealtor.com. So it's just, a little bit of advertising, because they already know who I am. They're already submitting an offer, and I like to stay in communication and conversation with agents. I think that's important. Building that culture, building these communities, because agents need to help each other. And they traditionally or formally, that's never been the ideology in my experience. And so I like that we're focusing on that lately. So if you have any other questions, reach out to me. Hopefully this was super helpful. Ian of Austin. See you next time.